Today we're going to be working on cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is a series of intersecting parallel lines. Unlike the hatching, these guys remain parallel and never intersect. Sorry guys. So, we'll be focusing on organic. Last week we focused on a sphere and cube. Today we're going to be focusing on a pear and an apple. Now, what I need to do is, well, of course, draw my pear. Now, if you don't happen to have one handy, it's okay. We'll draw a pear from memory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with the circle. And remember, I'm sketching, which means I'm not applying a lot of pressure to my pencil because I don't want to commit to a line. That means I don't want to darken or apply a lot of pressure to a line, because applying a lot of pressure to your pencil will create a dark line, and you don't necessarily want that, especially in the beginning. That's why I say you don't necessarily want to commit to a line just yet. So again, I'm just sketching, which means I'm not applying too much pressure to my pencil. Now, remember, there are things, or should I say, remember how integral, how important the light source is to something of this nature. Because of course, light source determines hatching or cross-hatching, or should I say placement of hatching and or cross-hatching. So once you have something that looks like a pear, we'll take it from there. Now, I have a habit, as I said, of placing my light source to the upper right. Now, why is that important? Well, because that, sorry guys. That again determines placement of the cross-hatching. Now, cross-hatching, as I said, is a series of intersecting lines. And I've also heard it referred to as cross contour lines, or it's just another way of saying that these lines are, you're trying your best to configure these lines to the form of something. Now, what we have is just a series of lines, and remember, contour, which of course means you want to follow the form of something. And don't forget, the closer you place your cross-hatching lines to one another, the darker the appearance. Now, once I have this, I can then begin to add the intersecting lines. So what does that mean? Well, let's start to intersect some lines. Okay, now they're slightly off in terms of the contour of the pear, but that's okay, because I'll show you what I mean by that's okay. Now, overall, you're going to create a darker area and a lighter area. And you'll start to see that even though these intersect, they still produce an effect, or should I say a play of light and dark. Now, I'll go back. And again, these intersect. And in essence, it's a mesh-like effect. The $10 word is imbrication, a fish scale-like effect. I like to use the word mesh because they remind me of the, this pattern reminds me of the bags that oranges come in. So, then here, of course, do not forget to place your cast shadow. And you can follow your rays. Remember those sun rays you've been drawing since you were a kid? Follow these sun rays, and they'll help you understand placement of the cross-hatching pattern, of course, which means it's going to always be at the opposite end of the light source, upper right light source. Excuse me, the light source is at the upper right, which means our cross-hatching will be at the lower left. Now, let's just go on ahead, and you kind of want this cast shadow to be a little bulbous. By that, bulb-like, a little bulbous, and you can elongate it. But again, we won't focus so much on the actual cast shadow, but more so on the cross-hatching. More so on the cross-hatching, guys, okay? Now, I'm liking the drawing overall, but again, I want to create a play of light and dark. So I'm just going to go back and create some more cross-hatching. And not all pears are going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Tier-like. One can't always liken them to a tier. Sometimes they're not as defined at the top. But in short, what I'm getting at is this. I want to put something like a cleft, or more to the point, a split, And this split determines, well, what does it determine? Well, number one, now we have an area that is shadowed. Now, let me go back. And the purpose of cross-hatching is, again, to create an illusion of depth. Of course, we can't have depth in something that's two-dimensional. Of course, that translates to two measurements, width and height. But something that has depth, of course, that implies that it's three, or translates to the fact that it's three-dimensional, that being three measurements, width, height, and depth. But in short, let me just go back to this. And I want this area in here to be shadowed, because in essence, this is a little, almost something like a crevasse or crevice, or basically something that doesn't stick out, but rather is sunken or concave. So if you like your drawing, you can start to clean it up. And if you don't like your drawing, well, then you can take your eraser to it. But overall, guys, remember, we're drawing to express and transmit ideas. I firmly believe that art is based on two important principles. Two very important, I shouldn't say principles, but rather, for me, art is based on A, transmission of ideas, and B, expression. So how can you go wrong if you're expressing yourself, guys? How can you go wrong if you're trying to transmit an idea or show the world what you're thinking with your art? So that's our pair. And again, if you like it, fine. If not, we can always erase it. Now I'm going to take my kneaded eraser to my drawing. I'm going to clean it up a bit. Just going to clean it up a bit. I hope you guys are doing well. I really hope you guys are okay and you're hanging in there. And so I'm gonna take my kneaded eraser and give this pair a few highlights. By that I mean where I want it to reflect light, or the reflective area. Bulbous, basically the part that protrudes or sticks out. I'm gonna take my kneaded eraser to it, and then that'll give me more of an illusion of depth. So here we have our pair. Now, if you approve, I can go on to an apple. Today we're going to focus on organic. Last week we focused on geometric, which of course was a sphere and a cube if memory serves. So I'm going to go with the apple this time. So, and again, it's okay if you don't have an apple before you, right in front of you, it's okay. You can draw one from memory and you can follow along every step of the way. So I start my apples kind of like with a curved line, and that serves as the top of the apple. And then I'll just continue with my curved lines. And don't forget, guys, it's okay to say, hey, I don't like this drawing, or hey, you can't draw. That's perfectly fine. I mean, we all formulate our opinions of one another, and more to the point, we all have something to say. Just remember, be constructive and try your best to always be understanding, and we'll take it from there. Now, let me draw, of course, a stem, and then why not a leaf while we're at it. Now, remember, light source, light source, light source. So I'm just going to stay with this light source, and for the apple, the light source is at the upper left, which means the cast shadow and cross hatching will be at the lower right. So you can go on ahead and start your cast shadow if you so choose to. So I'm going to start with my cross hatching, and again, the light source determines placement of the hatching or cross hatching. Now, I want to come on in, I want to start rather with these curved lines, with the curved line. And don't forget, if you're having trouble or if you're saying to yourself, well, I really don't understand where I should place the cross hatching pattern, I really don't understand where I should place the cast shadow, it's okay, just follow along. So what we have here is our light source, and here a drawing of an apple. And I'll give you guys a few seconds to take inventory of things, to say, well, does my apple look like an apple? Or should I say, does my drawing resemble an apple? Does it look anything like an apple? And we'll take it from there, okay, guys? And it's don't be so critical of yourself or the work of others. Remember, this is all a learning process. Mistakes will be made, but we'll advance step by step. We'll advance. So let me go back over to my apple. And as I was saying, in terms of the reflective area, or the more to the point, the darkened area, the cross hatching. So I'll go on ahead and draw some of those sun rays, and this will give you a great idea of where the light source is making contact with this apple. So as you can see, for the most part, it's here. So that said, I can go on ahead and start with my contour lines. And I want you to take inventory of something. Right now, they're basically hatching lines, or should I say contour lines. Now, once I have that, and by that I mean an idea of where my cross hatching pattern will go, then I can actually start to create the cross hatching, which means I now go back in, and as the term implies, they cross one another or intersect. Then I could go on ahead and start to draw that pattern. And this is something, I don't know if I mentioned it last week with the other presentation, but this is something that's been used for centuries upon centuries. Sorry, guys. So go on ahead, follow along, and remember, have some fun. Hang in there and have some fun. I know things right now are far, far from ideal, but hey, we're gonna hang in there and we're gonna get this done. And don't forget, guys, focus on your other subjects. Now, let me focus on this stem. Okay, guys, so if you like your drawing, that's fine and dandy. If not, then we can always take our eraser to it. And again, remember, what's important here is expression, transmission of ideas. That's what's important here. We're creating, we're having fun. It's a learning process. And don't be so critical of yourself. Don't be so judgmental of yourself or the work of others. Remember, this is something that's based on expression and transmission of ideas. That's what's important here, guys. That we create, that we have fun, that we tell others what we're thinking and feeling with our drawings. So there we go, guys, the pear and the apple. Now guys, keep in mind, something of this sort is something like this is very important in that, well, believe it or not, these shapes, something bulbous, something spherical, these are very important when it comes to the human being, when it comes to drawing the human being. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here we have a circle, or something that resembles a circle. Now, what I'm gonna do is just add a couple of curved lines, and maybe you'll start to recognize what I'm trying to do, or more to the point, maybe this is something that you'll recognize. And by that I mean, just give me a couple of more minutes, or just a few more seconds, I should say. We don't have a lot of time now, do we? Okay. I'm gonna follow this curved line in particular. Where is that? I think some of you can recognize what I'm attempting to draw. And the operative word being attempting. And again, don't forget how important light source is here. So as I said earlier, I have a habit of placing my light source to the upper right, which means this: my cross hatching pattern, or shaded area. Well, I shouldn't say shade. I'm sorry. The cross hatching pattern will be placed here, and by here I mean at the opposite end of the light source. So this cross hatching pattern, this is important in that, again, it helps you create an illusion of depth. And again, why do you want to create an illusion of depth? Because it gives your piece a seemingly three-dimensional effect, or more to the point, it makes it look 3D, which is something most artists strive for, something they really focus on. And something that we're trained to do, especially with something the likes of representational art, which means you're creating a drawing and it mirrors, or more to the point, one can compare it to that thing in reality. So by that I mean, my drawing of a pear should ideally resemble an actual pear as you would see it in nature. My apple resembles an apple as you would see it in nature. Representation, representing an actual form found within nature. So these cross-hatching lines are indeed important when creating something bulbous or bulb-like or spherical. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Hang in there. I hope to see you soon. And again, relax. Remember, try your best to behave. Try your best to get along with others, and try not to take things for granted. I know things are far from ideal, as I mentioned earlier, but hey, we're gonna hang in there, and we're gonna try our best to stay positive. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you soon. I hope you're okay, and hope to see you guys soon. Take care, guys.